Jack!
Yo, what's going on, Vic?
What's going on, Paisan?
Nothing, man. Palm trees and sunshine. Just the usual.
Just the huge, huh?
Just the usual till it's not the usual anymore.
Oh, boy. Why? What happened? What's up?
Nah, we'll get into that. Today we got an interview to do.
Yeah, we do have an interview followed by this.
Yeah, you excited?
I'm very excited because we don't normally, like I said, we don't get to normally interview females, but we have a professional model. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's a round of applause right there. First model to come on.
Yeah, this model almost killed me.
Why?
Uninadvertently, I was driving and Amanda was looking through Insta. I don't know how this social media thing shit works. So she looks at, I guess, my account and sees that I've been looking to do some homework on our interviewee, who, as you said, is a model, smoking hot. And so I'm driving and she's like, "So who's this?" And she like flashes her phone at the perfect angle as I'm driving on a wicked fucking turn in the mountains. And the sun just hit so perfectly on the screen of her phone.
She flashbanged
my flashbang the shit out. It was like fucking someone threw a bed sheet over my head. I was blind.
Maybe she did that thing from Men in Black where she flashes you and you forget everything. You know where you are right now?
I'm blind driving. So I'm definitely going to have to thank our interviewee for the attempt on my life. So other than that, bunch of COVID's going around my house.
Is it COVID? Is it the
it's
Alpha
COVID
variant? Is it the Omicron? Is it Stamingia?
Omicron, Siberius Prime.
Yeah.
Fucking, I didn't even know I had it. And everyone else is sneezing. So,
you had it?
Oh, how can I not have it?
And you're fully vaccinated.
I'm fully vaccinated. My
just
kids,
makes common sense.
It just makes common sense.
That's
so, what about you, man? What's going on with you, brother?
I'm dreading, man. I'm in the world of moving, painting, packing, going to another apartment, new apartment, beautiful. But I mean, the last guy that had it had these sunset light orange walls that needed to be changed because I felt like I was in like a world of orange. If I was orange, sunset. I would die.
Like Miami fucking sunset.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, no. So yeah, I mean, I was working day and night, like 16 hours a day just to get this apartment squared away for the move. But yeah, I mean, packing and moving and painting will take the soul out of somebody, man. I mean, my knees are killing me, shoulders, arms, because, you're going up and down with the roller, painting the corners.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, and then Dom took a little stress away from me. I was originally going to move myself. Me, my brother, and a friend were going to help, but eventually we just called the moving company and just have them do it.
Yeah, have the professionals do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. We saved a lot of money on painting because I did it, which I still got to go back and do some touch-ups. But yeah, it did save some money. 100% saved a little bit of money. That's what we do, man. Good. Hey, listen, when you brought up the way I do, you usually do things. You don't pay everyone for everything. You know what I mean? You gotta have no money.
Yeah, exactly. You either do it yourself or it just doesn't get done.
Yeah.
That's why in my world, it just doesn't get done.
And another thing.
Just stays there.
Yeah, just the point. Ladies, if you tell your men to do something, just let them do it.
Yeah.
That's it.
The best thing you could do is
don't be a general contractor walking around pointing things out. It's not done yet.
Did you do this corner? I was just asking because it looks different.
Yeah, it looks different. Is this the paint? Or still that's the primer? It's the primer. You got to prime everything. Once, twice. Definitely twice. Prime twice. Darker the color. You got to prime. But yeah, that's been my world the last week. Been moving back and forth. Yeah, that's about it. But Jack, you ready for this interview? I'm ready. I'm stoked.
Brother, I'm so excited for this.
All right. Well, let's walk her in and we'll get her in. We'll be right back on UnFollowVic Podcast.
For more content and behind the scenes, visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the UnFollowVic Podcast. Enjoy the show.
This is Elizabeth Marshall, professional model, creator, and investor, and I'm your special guest today on the UnFollowVic Podcast.
Jack, take it away.
Today we have a very special guest. She's a self-made, self-paid businesswoman who also has a successful career in the modeling industry. She's been on the cover of For Him magazine 5 times, was on the cover of Maxim, New Zealand, and recently on the cover of Glamour. She worked to the top, smoking hot, not going to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, Elizabeth Marshall, hello and welcome.
Hello, welcome.
Hey, having me.
Oh, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
We don't often get females to interview, especially with your career and business.
Yeah.
I love doing podcasts. I love talking to people, and you guys, I love your show. You guys sound like fun, so we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. But before how we go, me and Jack were having a debate with your eye color. I'm saying it's green. He's saying it's blue. We need some confirmation on that.
It is pretty. It is pretty stark blue. It is. I don't know if I like to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah.
I wore this blue shirt to be like try to be shameless about it, like just a little bit.
But your eyes, do they change at all, or they just stay blue depending on the color of the shirt? Because I know with unique eyes like that, they could change.
They're always blue, but if I look into the sun, they get like sparkly crystal blue. Like they're by far my best feature. I got blessed in the ocular department.
Yeah, I got these shitty brown eyes.
Yeah.
Brown eyes you must be Italian.
Part, yeah. We're all part.
No, I'm full, baby.
He's full. Full Ginzo.
Full Ginzo.
Maybe I think you're Italian because you sound like my cousin Vinny.
Yeah, I got that a lot. Yeah, because I was I lived in Houston, Texas, where you're from. You know, I was stationed there during the military, so I got that a lot. Like, you sound like my cousin Vinny. You sound like some New York mobster. I'm neither.
Yeah.
I used to go to New York back when I first started doing modeling. I used to go to New York a lot, New York and LA, because I still thought at the time that I had to be in the ballpark to play ball. You know, go out there a lot. And up in New York, yeah, it was just so funny. I think I told you before the show, people would, every once in a while, I'd meet somebody telling me like, oh my gosh, say y'all again. That's so funny. Like, you talk so funny. You guys talk funny too. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I love the Texan accent.
I do too. I'm grateful.
So Elizabeth, you're born in Alabama, actually, a city called Mobile. Then at the age of 7, your family moves to Houston, Texas, correct?
You might want to correct him on the pronunciation of that.
Oh, what did I mess up?
It's pronounced Mobile, Alabama.
Oh, Mobile. Okay. But yeah, so moving forward, I would assume moving at such an young age, it really didn't impact your life with making new friends and stuff like that. You weren't like the new girl in town that had to show who you were. You had like a new move, a new beginning.
Yeah, I mean, my dad grew up in North Dakota and my mom's from Texas. So they just happened to be living in Mobile when I was born. But we lived there till I was 7, and I don't remember a whole lot about it. Just that it was, I mean, it's even more hot than Houston, if you can believe that. I think the whole Gulf Coast is just brutality in the humid and hot department. But yeah, we moved here when I was 7, and I've lived in the Houston area ever since. And which is really like, you know, a lot of different places, because the Houston area, you know, like one place in the Houston area can be an hour and a half away from another place that's still in the Houston area.
Oh, wow, that's a big city.
It's really, really big. I didn't realize how big it was till I started traveling, actually. Like, I remember going to Boston and hearing somebody say one time, oh, you're like 4 miles away. I'll wait till you come to my area. I'm like, your area? Like, kidding me?
Like, that's funny.
But just yeah. But just hypothetically speaking, did you think moving to Houston unintentionally at that age enhanced where you are today career wise? Like, would you
Absolutely.
still? Yeah.
Absolutely. I was actually talking to my parents about this not too long ago because I've watched the entire Houston area like grow my whole life. Like we've been here since 91 when I was a little kid. And the area that I grew up in was a suburb of Houston called Sugar Land. When we moved there, it was a cow pasture. There was nothing. I mean, we lived in a really nice master plan community, but it was weird because there was really nothing out there. The town was named after a sugar factory that got erected out there in like the 1950s, the Imperial Sugar Factory. And until, people like developers came in and started developing the area, it was really just the sugar factory and like a row of houses that were constructed for workers of the factory. And there were plantations out there and all this crazies and prisons and all this crazy stuff.
Nice.
It was up there because like we really were out of the way, but just half an hour, which is not far by Texas standards at all. That's like the grocery store. Like half an hour down the freeway was this huge metropolitan city, like the fourth largest in America. And we had a ballet and museums and a gay district and clubs. And I mean, just everything that a big city has. So we grew up out in the sticks and like, in the other direction down the road was, Cowtown and ranches and all this other stuff. So we kind of grew up in the middle of it. And I up around absolutely everything. I saw the country and I saw the big city too.
Yeah, that's pretty like to be in the middle of everything. That's actually because you can go either left or you can go either right. But here you're on the middle, so you kind of like learn both of the best worlds.
Yeah, it gives you a good perspective on the world. Like, I didn't realize till I got older that people, understandably so, but like people have their own. Like if they grew up in the city, they have often erroneous perceptions about country people. And if you grew up in the country, you think things that aren't necessarily true about city people. And you kind of got to see you got to see everything for what it was. So you got a pretty well-rounded perspective of the world.
Yeah. Because I was back. I've been to Houston. I was there in 2017. My friend and I, when we were still active duty, we went to see the Yankees and Astros play Game 2. The Yankees lost. Are you big in sports? Do you watch sports?
So we went to the World Series game when we were playing. Who was it when we won and like they cheated? Was that the Dodgers?
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, hey, we cheated, right?
Yeah.
Like that. I got for that, right? No, we went to Game 3 and it was really, really cool. It was really fun. I don't know if I'd go again, but no, yeah, I've been to see the Rockets, I've been to see the Texans, I've been to see the Astros. Like it kind of depends on who's hot. If I'm kind of a fair weather fan, but if I go to a game or I'm watching somewhere, I'm always Houston over anything else. Like when I was growing up, the Rockets were big because we had Olajuwon and we had like that dream team that won back-to-back championships. Yeah. And that was really fun. A lot of the Rockets lived in our neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
Like Mario Ellie, I remember him. Like we'd go we lived in a big master plan community with lots of little smaller subdivisions in it. And of course, all the Rockets lived in like the rich subdivision, but we had friends there who would get us in the gate and we'd go trick or treating out there. These guys were so cool. Like Mario Ellie would give you huge basketball sized like hands of quarters. Like that was if you trick or treated at his door. I mean, that was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, and his hand could probably fit about $50 in it.
I know, for real. Yeah, it was really cool. So that was cool growing up at that.
Yeah. Now, you know what I find amazing? And it's not to take the light away from you, but your parents have been together for 40 years and going. Isn't that like a celebration in itself?
It is. Isn't that amazing?
It is, because I mean, I never understood much growing up. I'm like a typical boy, but I know nowadays with the newlyweds and the newly couples, I feel like sometimes they don't give their marriage a proper fight. It's like a Netflix subscription. They'll just end it, quit, and boom, on to the next.
I agree. I actually, that's one of the reasons I'm glad that I grew up in Texas, amongst many, is I think sometimes, if you don't grow up here, people have misconceptions like we're a bunch of hicks that, that get raised believing dinosaurs aren't real and like how to shoot a gun when we're 3 and all this kind of stuff. It's just not. We get like one of the cool things about Texas is Texans are different than than any other people I've ever met. They're country, but they're like, we actually have a lot in common with New Yorkers. Like, we're very friendly people, but we don't take bullshit at all. Like, if you try to pass off some bullshit on us, we will call you. We're not scared, about it. Like, I actually really respect that about New Yorkers, because we're no different,
Yeah, I've never met anyone from Texas I didn't like. So.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Yeah, but growing up with my parents, the neighborhood I grew up in, everybody was like that. Everybody's parents were married. We all, there were rich kids and not so rich kids, but for the most part, everybody had the same stuff and had a decent house, and everybody was friendly. Everybody got along. Like, I didn't appreciate it till I got older, but we were raised, we really were, with a lot of good values.
No, I think that's part of life. That's how people should be raised. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying you have to like the person, but, treat them the way you want to be treated until they give you a reason.
Yeah, like people, I guess going back to what I was saying earlier, Texans are religious, like much more so than a lot of other people I've met, but not in a bad way, like in a good way. Like, they're not crazy Bible thumping at your door, have you heard of Jehovah people? They're not like that at all. They are just, they're very rooted in reality. They're very rough around the edges in a good way, but they are very committed to a value system that everybody should be committed to: treating other people well, sticking by your family, loving the land. Like, they're very, a lot of people, there's a lot of very religious ranchers and farmers here who have a deep connection with their livestock and their land and all this it's really a beautiful thing. Yeah.
And so going into your teenage years, just like Jack and myself and you, we went through the public school system. But I think that has a lot to do with an attitude and adulthood, because I think growing up in a public school system, you learn walks of everywhere. So I think, like, growing up, like, you get into fights. Sometimes people get bullied. You have the crazy teacher, and it builds your rough shell for the real world when it comes to that point. Correct?
Oh, totally. I totally agree. I actually, don't get me started on the public school system in this country, but from a perspective, social perspective, I think it's good. It's good to be not just in school, but anywhere in life. But it's good to start in school, to be around different people. And I didn't know this until I got older and started getting into real estate investing, but Houston is the most diverse city in America, even more than New York City. Wow. I didn't believe that first, but it's the truth. And I believe it because when I was growing up, man, well, one of the cool things was, you grew up with everybody, and everybody was embarrassed of their parents for some reason or another, like totally different reasons. But we were all Americans, and we all loved metal, and we all loved country, and we all loved, we were all the same, all us kids, but we were all different. My brother, one of his best friends was, his parents were from India. And so he was embarrassed of his parents for that reason, but we all loved the same things, did the same things. Mm-hmm. And I grew up with Asian kids that were embarrassed of their parents for being from the old country too. And we were kind of embarrassed of our parents for being so religious. And everybody had beef with their parents, sort of, but it was like a bonding thing. Like, we were all different, but sort of, Yeah.
If I may, I think that's why places like New York and Texas are as great as they are. I mean, New York maybe not as much, but where you have that diversity, but foundationally we all really believe the same thing. Don't hurt the guy next to you. Girl, gal next to you. Care for others and treat yourself and others with respect. And I mean, there's crazies out there, but there's a I think much less of an issue between different religions and cultures as we're led to believe.
Oh, I totally agree. Well, that's one of the things that made me fall in love with the concept of being an American. Like, when I was younger, I fell deeply in love with that because I was very aware young. I think because we were taught this explicitly, which is a great thing, but that, this is a place where it doesn't matter who you are. You have an opportunity. It doesn't matter where you were born. That's not where you have to die, which that's the first all of human history. I mean, if you were born poor, you were going to die poor at all points in human history until then. And it doesn't matter who you are. These fundamental values and things that we value in this country are for everybody. And that was one of, there's really not as much I love learning about different cultures. There's nothing that should divide us about any of that stuff. It's great. There's certain values that I think America, at its core, at least used to espouse, that tie you all together as one, no matter who you are or where you're from, which is great.
Yeah. And was high school like a difficult time in your life? Like, did you get along with everyone? Were you like the popular kid?
No.
No?
No to both. I've always been really strong-willed. And I think growing up, I don't know. I was Miss Goth kid that hated all the cheerleaders growing up, believe it or not, like in high school. I had plenty of friends, but I was just, I don't know. I think I had a lot of angst as a teenager. I think lots of teenagers do, but I was definitely one of those. So high school was challenging. I've never been a school person. I've never being told what to do or to sit down or to learn this or to perform this way. Like I had a difficult time with that when I was younger.
Yeah. And, so during your teenage years, I mean, I know when I was an adolescent, I hate reading. Me and my friend, we once threw a bookshelf out the window of school, but you motivated yourself and buried yourself in books. What was the motivation behind that?
Well, I think that was part of why I was sort of angsty is, I felt like school wasn't challenging enough. Like part of it was I didn't want to be told what to do and like how to learn. I love to learn and I always have. I love knowledge. I love information. I love to read. But I really just didn't like the school structure. I'm really not sure what my issue was, but that's my best guess at it. I would spend a lot of time skipping class and spending time in the library doing my own thing. But it's not like, I would play hooky and go, get high or screw off or trouble. Like I would go and like learn things on my own terms. So I know it's kind of scary how much I know about history. I love history and I've read every history, mainstream, not so mainstream, whatever that I could get my hands on since I was a teenager.
Yeah, well, that's good to know history too, because like they say, history does repeat itself. And I think we're in a world right now where we're starting to learn that we should learn from history and not, keep trying to change it.
Yeah, it's painful to know so much about history and be alive right now because a lot of the stuff that's going on right now already happened, like not even a generation ago. And it's like, how do people not know about this? Yeah. Like this, just Nazi Germany, there's a lot of parallels going on right now. And it's hard to believe that people don't, a lot of people do see it, but it's hard to believe that some people don't. I mean, it's scary.
Yeah. And then, so you in your 20s, you start working out. Did you just like go to the gym or did you have like a little knowledge before that? Like, did you have to have like a trainer with you or did you just went into the gym and started lifting? Because, when you lift, you have to properly lift. There's forms you have to follow unless you can hurt yourself.
So I'll tell you what, the internet changed my life. And I think a lot of people can say that, but in the sense that the first part of my life, I remember the world without the internet. Like I remember friend got dial-up at her house when we were in 8th grade and we didn't have it in my house. We're going to pay for that. And they probably thought it was, something we shouldn't have anyway. But I remember she got dial-up at her house and I remember thinking, wow, you can talk to people from all over the world. This is going to change the world. And but I was always very aware from like when the internet first came around of just the capability that it provided, because, now I'm glad I grew up in Texas and that this is where I live. But when I was growing up here, I couldn't wait to get out of here and go somewhere cool. Like I thought it was so lame, living here and being here and having to, all that. I've learned a lot from the internet. I learned how to work out from the internet. I became a model without having to move to the coast because of the internet. I guess I saw the value of it early on and was like, well, I've never done anything anybody's way anyway. So how can I use this to do things my way? And I did. So that's how I learned to work out was YouTube,
right? Yeah. I mean, YouTube, I think could shape up the whole world if you really know what videos you're watching.
Yeah, I mean, we're from that age too. Stuff.
Yeah, I'm from that. I think we started up with that age. Like as soon as I went onto the computer, I think YouTube was just available.
Yeah. It ties up the phone line and nobody can use the phone.
Oh yeah, forget it. Hang up the phone.
Good times.
I remember that. And I mean, I don't think any of us had the foresight to see what, how much that was going to change everything. But I do remember thinking like, wow, this is a big deal. Like this is going to change the whole world. And it sure did.
I think it's amazing because I don't know very many other people that can say that they've started, for instance, their own avenue in this world that essentially required you at some point to live on the coasts. Otherwise you weren't going to make it.
Right. And so, again, you only know so much, through reading or through studying or, there's just certain things you have to learn through experience. And so when I was, I only got a few semesters through college before I decided, because my parents couldn't help me pay for it. And I just decided after about 3 semesters that I didn't like this anymore in high school, and that and the entrepreneurial spirit was huge in Texas. And it was very much so when I was growing up. Like, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You don't like something, go start a business and just work. And so that I just had that mindset going into college, and I was like, well, I don't like this, and I'm just going to go work. I'm going to figure something out. I'm going to go hustle. But I didn't know anything about how the modeling industry actually worked. Like, I worked with some people in Houston, like local photographers and stuff, but I wanted to get published and I wanted to try to be something big. And I was ambitious, and I was like, well, I can do this. So I started, I'd scrape together money and go out to LA and New York and try to meet people and network out there. And, it didn't take me long to realize that I didn't want to be out there. The art scenes out there were really, not nice, I guess.
Really?
No, they're not. Like New York. First of all, fashion's different than other stuff, but like the fashion industry in New York, they're awful. They're so mean. And they're so, I can see how that really destroys girls, like with eating disorders and self-esteem issues and all this kind of stuff. Even talk to you if you're not 5'8". So.
Now, before you went into the modeling industry, because you said here you used to bodybuild and did bikini competitions. Was that prior to the modeling?
No, so it was sort of in between. So I started doing like beauty and glamour and stuff because I'm a naturally curvy girl, and I was lightly involved in the gym in my early 20s, just because I needed to lose baby fat from being a teenager and stuff and get into a certain shape. But I wasn't like muscular, like super fit. But as I started approaching my 30s, I started to realize that, some of this might go south if I don't start taking care of it now. So I started to kind of hit the weight rack a little bit more. And I got really, that's an addiction. Like, it's a good addiction, but you can get really addicted to lifting in the gym and like working out and stuff. So, but I'm lucky. I have a lot of natural symmetry. Like my dad, I get a lot of my like anatomical stuff from him, and he could have been a bodybuilder when he was younger. I mean, his level of symmetry and muscular like development is just, you didn't even work out. And it's just amazing. So, so I put on muscle pretty easily and just got into pretty good shape and I did a few shows before I decided that it wasn't really my thing. But I never really backed off of the fitness thing. Yeah. Like it's only gotten more so as I've gotten older.
Now, was it, because it's always easy to start something, but was it like hard to stay committed in that world when you started lifting? Like, was that like, how did that become like a routine to your lifestyle? Like, what engaged you to continue to keep building? Was there a goal you needed to get to?
So I've had peaks and valleys like most people that are on a long-term fitness journey. You're going to have times where you're leaner and times where you're heavier and times where you gain some back and then lose it again. And you're motivated and not so motivated. The thing is, consistency is just forcing yourself to go to the gym and work out and do something, whether you feel like it or not. I mean, that's really the big secret to it all. You don't always have to feel like it. You just always have to do it.
Which is the hard part.
That's the hardest part.
I don't mean to make it sound it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah. And did you start it off at like a public gym?
Yeah, I just joined a gym, and other than YouTube, if you make friends with other people around the gym, you can learn a ton about nutrition and form and lifting and all sorts of stuff, which I'm glad I learned about nutrition. Like, I'm glad I competed. I may do it again someday. I haven't done it in a while. But I learned from doing that whether people want to hear it or not, nutrition's 80% of this. Like, if you're really looking to get shredded and look like a beast in pictures or whatever, it's almost all food.
So Chick-fil-A is that doesn't cut it.
Yeah, it depends on what you're eating. Man, actually,
right.
like you have no
cheat days.
Huh?
No cheat days.
I get a cheat day once a week.
Oh,
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
Well, you
was
need to.
surprised.
Doesn't that shock the body in a way? Doesn't that like shock the body to where your workout then gets more progressive?
It shocks your metabolism, like it keeps you from plateauing and getting too used to a routine, but it's good for you mentally. Like you've got to take care of yourself mentally too. Like if you're competing, that's one of the things that when you're really getting close to stage time, you start getting stupid because you're so depleted and you're just like, your brain just doesn't function optimally. You forget words and that's where I guess where meathead comes from.
Because I have a word too. I have the meatheads or the gym buffs. And I want to actually get into that. It's during your workouts, like I know sometimes people can be annoying. Have you ever had like those annoying guys that are coming up to you, like trying to like give you pointers, even though you probably know more than them?
Sometimes. I mean, I think I'm lucky. Like I don't. I think people, at least nowadays, have started to realize that, like, if somebody isn't asking for your advice, they probably don't want it. And it's probably rude for you to just go in and, like, even if somebody looks like a complete idiot, unless they're asking for help, don't offer it, you know?
Yeah.
No, most people, at least down in Texas, men are really kind down here. Like men that were born and raised here were raised correctly. And most of them treat women real well.
That's good. That's the gentleman's school. Gentlemen's School of Houston. You have a Peloton too, right? You just hit your 600 ride, I seen.
Yeah, I love that thing. Yeah, I'd love to know how much money those people made. They did an IPO,
yeah.
not.
Oh, sorry. Every time I talk, it cuts you off, so I'm trying not to. But it is, yeah, they definitely are making a killing.
Well, they've got them in hotel gyms now, and I mean, I see them all over the place. But they did an IPO a while back. And I can only imagine how much they made, but that's a great platform. Have you ever thought of that? It's amazing that hadn't come around. The internet had been around forever by the time that came around. I'm surprised it took somebody that long to think of it.
Yeah, well, they used to have that old school, it's like a little triangle thing where you would just hook up the back tire and ride, but I guess someone put it in together with a flat screen, and now you have a trainer, which I think is great.
No, wait. I'm sorry. Do you guys remember the blonde guy with long hair that he would ride the gazelle?
Tony.
The fucking, yeah.
I believe that guy made a ton of money. I don't know how much, but I heard one time that he made a fortune on those things.
Really?
Oh my God. That was hilarious.
I know Suzanne Summers. Do you know how much she made? $100 million from the Thigh Master. You remember those stupid things?
How much?
Oh yeah.
She made $100 million off those things.
Jesus.
No, I mean, that's the body that it's a beautiful body. I will say the female body is gorgeous. The male body, people can have their, they could rate their 1 to 10 or however it's done, but no one can dispute male or female on this planet. A physical body is definitely, a fit female body is definitely the optimum.
I still think dad bods are still good. I'm not a dad though. That's the difference.
What's the difference?
I'm not a dad and I have a dad bod. It's not good.
Oh, well, get on it.
Right.
Yeah. What's your favorite workout? What do you usually do to get yourself pumped? Are you more on I know you have to do some type of cardio, but the calisthenics are usually really great because if you can hold your own body weight.
So, it's kind of a broad question. So just this past week, I've only been doing it for a week, but I reconnected with a competition coach up here in the Woodlands in North Houston, where I live, who he's great. All this guy does, like he'll give you a lifestyle program or a competition program, depending on what you're wanting to do. I just signed up for a lifestyle program with him, but he'll send you diets for every day, and he'll send you a workout routine. So I really, really started to step it up again. I do Peloton 6 days a week, and I do weights 6 days a week now. And I have a very strict nutrition schedule too. I'm not hungry, but it's all real food. It's all chicken, and I have to weigh out carbs and protein and all that kind of stuff. Just because I, like talking about the peaks and valleys with a fitness journey, I just kind of fell off for a little while, and I didn't get out of shape, but I could stand to lean down. So that's what I'm doing.
It really is a science.
It is a science.
Do you happen to have a favorite song that, like, no matter what, like, let's say it's just on those days where you're like, I gotta go to the gym, like I gotta go run this marathon, I gotta go do this, like, and you just turn it on and then you're like, all right, I can do this. Let's go.
So believe it or not, I became a huge metalhead when I was like a preteen. Like Pantera, who were from Dallas, so they were just like right up the road from us. They're still like the greatest metal band of all time. But Pantera and Metallica like converted me for life when I was like 12 years old. So I'm still like a huge metal fan. And anytime I'm really, lacking and really need to get into beast mode, I've got a couple albums that are just probably my favorite at the moment is Fall of Ideals by All That Remains.
I know All That Remains.
Oh my gosh, I love Phil. I'd love to meet Phil. He's a big Liberty guy, but that album's been around for probably 15 years. But God, it's good, just front to back. The whole thing.
I'm a huge metal fan. I actually just went yesterday to go see my friends. They have a metal band, America's Deathbed. But I really love, like, when I used to go to the gym, I would put on a Lamb of God album, and with Chris Adler. I mean, I have all his prized possessions. I got a signed drumhead, his artwork. I love that guy. That was like my idol.
It's beast mode. It's All That Remains, Killswitch Engage, Metallica's new album with the symphony, like their S&M2 album is freaking fantastic. I never get sick of Pantera. There's a couple staples that I just never get sick of. Slipknot too. They're just brutal.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, I actually, I was in Texas when I first heard of Lamb of God. It was, they were performing right before Slipknot came.
I might have been at that show.
No? It's amazing.
I might have been. No.
Oh, you might have been. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, not to go back into the bodybuilding, but I'm curious on, like, so when you do a competition, you have to get the spray tan, and what do you like have to do prior to that to show like all the definition on your body? Like, it seems like, there's a modeling part, which I'm pretty sure people do prior to a photo shoot, but what do you do prior to this competition?
So going back to what I was saying earlier about getting stupid before a show, there's something, so prep for a show involves, it depends on how lean you are going into it and what category you're in and all this stuff, but it's usually like 6 to 8 weeks to prep for a show. And it's where you really buckle down and you're not cheating on in the gym every day. But closer to the show, you really start to manipulate. You really start to dial back on fat and other stuff. And you really start to manipulate your water levels because water, believe it or not, is the thing that really makes you look dried out. Like if you cut back your water. But the science, they call it peak week. It's the week before you get on stage, and you want to talk about science. I don't know who figured this out, like who figures this stuff out, but they're smart. It's amazing. Like this, just the diet that you do, it goes, everywhere from like low carb one day to eating like high fat and like potatoes the next day. And then, doing 2 gallons of waters for 3 days and then cutting it off completely until the show's over. The level of detail is just astonishing. But if you follow it the way you're supposed to, it's unbelievable what a difference it makes in your body. Like you're like, I can't believe I look like this.
Wow. That's
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's I get confused making a sandwich. That's insane.
That's why they write it out for you, because in the last week, especially when you're really starting to get into the low carb stuff and you're really starting to cut off the water, you really do get stupid. When your brain doesn't have fat, especially, you start getting dumb.
Yeah. Now, before we get into your modeling career, I just wanted to touch base on this college. I know you brought it up before, but I think we all have similar views where I think college is a debt trap. I think I never went to college. I did the active duty military, and I used that towards anything that needed a college degree. But I believe, like, if you're not becoming a lawyer or a doctor, what's the point of college? I think a doctor should definitely be degreed. I wouldn't want someone with a GED cutting my body up and doing like a heart transplant or something. But I just think, I think college is a little bit of a waste of time if you want to like do some particular things in the world.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. There's things that you absolutely should go to college for, like STEM field stuff. If you want to be an engineer, obviously a lawyer or a doctor or stuff where you definitely need it. Like that's one thing. The rest of it, I think it's a total, the reason I really think that I started, having issues in school in high school is because I started to realize even back then that a lot of this stuff was bullshit. Like, why are they teaching us this stuff that's obviously not true? Like, I could tell that there was an agenda going on in the schools, like as far back as high school. And when I college, actually the thing that made me quit college, the actual thing was I had a sociology class where the professor came in the first day of class and the whole class was about how white people are evil. They're responsible for all the wars in the world. I mean, it was just racist nonsense. It was insane. And she wasn't the only person I'd heard talk like that. And I was like, I don't know what's going on around here, but I'm not going to go into debt to listen to this. I'm just not. And I really, and that was back in like 2000, and it's gotten way worse since then. So, I know the history about how, I can get into that some other time, but the history about how things all got this way. But there's very much a culture, like a toxic culture in academia at this point that I think, you can avoid it if you're smart. But I'm not a big fan of going to college unless you're dead set on doing something that needs it, because academia has gotten bad. It's gotten real bad.
Yeah, and I'm a strong believer where I think intelligence and life experience will always outweigh college experience and a degree.
Me too. I cannot tell you how many people I know or have met in my life who are book smart and some of the dumbest people I've ever met, because they don't know anything about how the world functions. They heard some theory in a classroom somewhere that has no application in the real world at all, but they think they're right and they refuse to budge because I learned this at some expensive school. Well, it doesn't mean you're right. It's all messed up, but you're right. It's experience is way more important.
I think, it definitely shapes up who you are as a person, and it definitely gets you rolling, especially with the business end. But here you are, you're in great physical shape. You're successful. You're both beautiful and talented. You were on the cover of For Him magazine 5 times, which is an amazing magazine for men. You've been on the cover of Maxim, and you just appeared on Glamour. How did you even get started in the modeling industry? I know you said you just started auditioning, or you had people come take photos of you?
So, again, try to think about how to concisely tell the story. So, again, I've always been strong-willed, started as far back as I could remember. And like I said, when I first started really thinking I wanted to do the modeling thing, I started, going out to the coast, like out to LA and New York, because I thought, that's where these things are based. And this is where I need to be if I'm going to meet anybody that can help me or, can get me published or can get me anywhere in this world. And after going out to both places, multiple times and becoming really disillusioned I was like, well, I'm just not giving up because I've got what it takes to do this. And these people don't have any right to tell me. A lot of people laughed in my face because I was from Texas, to be honest with you, which is insane. But it kind of lit a righteous indignation fire, I suppose, under me. And I was like, well, I don't know who they think they are, but I can do anything I want.
Exactly. Yeah. And
that's a Texan attitude. And I was like, the internet exists, doesn't it? And I met all these people in the first place through networking sites. And it's like, the hell, they can't tell me what to do. And I know I don't need them. I don't need their photographers. I know so many photographers and makeup artists and talented people here in Houston. A lot of them I grew up with. And we have everything it takes to do everything that they do. And so that was like the catalyst that got me into, I've never belonged to an agency. I've done everything on my own. I've sourced people. If somebody I knew had connections with editors or something like that, I would get to know them and submit material that I'd shot to them. I've done everything independently because I don't like being told that I can't do something.
Yeah. So what happened when you were in New York? You said something like, they caught a rough attitude because you weren't at least 5'8" or above. I mean, were you there just visiting the rotten apple, like I call it? Or were you there for modeling purposes?
Kind of both. Like I'd never been before. And I was really excited to see New York. And for sure, there's no place like it. Like it was really cool to go and see it. And I was like, wow, you couldn't have prepared me for this. Like, there's no other place like it for sure. It's definitely nowhere in Texas. So I wanted to see the place. But I also, went up there to meet people that I had met on like modeling networking sites on the internet, like photographers and stuff to do photo shoots. And I was just like, man, everything's so expensive up here. Like these photographers are expensive. Like, people are just as good and they don't charge as much, down in Texas. But then again, rent's not as much in Texas. So, but I just remember people being not very friendly. not just in New York, but also big time in LA, people being very ugly because I was from Texas. I guess they had preconceived ideas about what Texans are that are not true. And they weren't nice. They weren't welcoming. And I think they resented somebody that like wasn't in the mix coming up there and trying to get in the mix, I guess. I don't know. I just, I never really felt like I could get a foothold anywhere.
Yeah, and when you refer to like the people that were not nice, these were also other talents, or these are like the people behind the scenes who are like picking and choosing?
Yeah, behind the scenes, like photographers and people that had connections and stuff like that.
Now, are these people like 300 pounds obese? Because you know,
yeah,
right, yeah, I figured.
Like you have the right to comment on who's got what it takes, man. Like working a salad every once in a while, dude. Are you kidding?
Now I have to ask, what is your wildest modeling assignment or gig? Because sometimes people have a vision for you to do something that might not be right, or you may love it. But like, if you had a wild assignment, what would it be?
Like, what do you mean? Like, have I had one in the past?
Yeah, like, have you had like a gig where you were like, this is wild, I don't know if I can do it, but like you kind of did it because, you know, you still have to, at the end of the day, be a professional. I mean, I know you're not with an agency, but you know, there's some times where like an actor, for instance, would have to do things that they probably wouldn't normally do.
Yeah. I mean, I do remember one time I was in Houston. I had set up a shoot that I was going to be paid for with a local photographer who actually had a good portfolio. Like I would screen people and make sure they weren't just some, they had actual work to look at and they had references and all this kind of stuff. And I showed up to his house, ready to shoot and professional and all that kind of stuff. This guy was a hoarder. I mean, it was horrifying. The level of just filth in this man's house. Like it was, like nothing could have prepared me for that. I don't think I dug enough into the references, to be fair. But he sure put on a front that didn't prepare you for that. And I stayed because I needed the money and because, I don't know. I stayed and got through it, but it was horrible. Like, I was just like, dude, like you can't.
Now for gigs like that, especially when you're meeting someone the first time that you're not familiar with, are you traveling alone or do you have someone with you?
So in the past, most of the time, I've been a renegade my whole life. Like I've done things alone pretty much my whole life, but I was never unsafe. Like I would always tell somebody where I was going and, give them an address and have them do a check-in after I'd been there for a little while and stuff like that. So there's safety precautions you have to take. But and
let's be honest, she could probably really rough them up.
I could.
I can see that. Yeah.
Well, I always had mace, and I always if I was in Texas, I'd take a gun because you can do that here. But I would always at least have mace, or I would have a way to defend myself if something got crazy. Because if you're a woman, women should have a weapon and know how to use it. You're smaller. You don't stand. It doesn't matter how tough you are. If some big guy wants to hurt you, he's going to, and you need to have a way to defend yourself.
Yeah, and especially if it's like a premeditated thing. I mean, he already knows what he's doing. You're just going there on good faith, and you're not realizing what you could be stepping into. So it's like Home Alone, for instance. He had a plan for everyone coming in the house.
Right. Yeah. Just always, if that's something, I was tough and I was brave, I guess, but I wasn't naive. I always made sure somebody knew where I was. Mm-hmm. And I always made sure that I knew where my whatever was in case it came down to that and how to grab it and use it. So.
Yeah. I mean, they have such nice little, attachment accessories for like in the underwear. They have little cute ones with bows and stuff. No, I'm just saying, look, if you're a girl and you're not for guns, okay, fine, but you can't lie. They look good.
I've actually, since I've gotten into business a little more as an adult, I've met a couple of women that's like their business. They have concealed carry, like fitness clothes, like that have, like jackets and leggings and stuff like that. That's exactly what they're made for, is to conceal carry.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that might be another $100 million idea. So the magazine industry, it's always been popular, but has it been changed a little bit since now everything's like online? Like, are magazines really selling how they used to? I wouldn't know.
I'm not an expert on that. I do know that, well, I mean, it's changed everything. It's changed newspapers. It's changed news. It's changed, but there are apps like Magster is a big app where you can get FHM and you can get thousands of magazines on that app. And it's like a pay, I don't even know how they do their memberships, but it's not bad. Like you pay like a fee and you get access to all sorts of stuff. So, but yeah, everybody's had to go digital, all the magazines, all the newspapers, like it's just where people are getting their stuff now. And every time I do a cover, I still get print copies of everything. Of course. But like Glamour Bulgaria that I just did, the agent that helped me with that sent me copies of like a picture of copies on a newsstand somewhere over there. So I guess it still goes on in Europe. I mean, it still goes on in some places.
Yeah, that's good. And what's the competition like for the model industry? I mean, I know some people think they can model. I mean, you got, these Instagram, not to put them down, but you have like Instagram models that just model on Instagram, but nothing else. And it's kind of like, what's the competition like just in the real world with actually getting to be on a cover of a magazine?
I don't feel like I've ever really had to compete. I've been fortunate enough. Well, I've been fortunate enough to find people that can help me who are like, this is available, that's available. Let's see, the shoot that you're wanting to submit. And, I'll always have something that I want to submit. I've never been rejected. So maybe I've been lucky in that regard. But you're right. And
there was that 5'8" guy who now you can brush off your shoulder. Right?
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I remember when I was growing up, like Playboy was real big, like his Hef was still alive and it was something totally different than it is now. It's not even a thing really anymore. It's not a big deal that much anymore. But I remember seeing reality shows and stuff where they'd have like, the final 5 girls or whatever that were going to be Playmate of the Month or whatever, like at the mansion. And you could just see the daggers and all this kind of stuff. It looked like it was way more competitive back then because everything was done in person. And I think there's more of an impersonal aspect. Like there's more of a business aspect of it when you're doing things online and you're just submitting material and making a deal and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, and how do you handle like negative feedback? Have you ever had like negative feedback from like a photographer or an agency? Because I know you said Houston, you tell it how it is. But has anyone ever been like fake brutal honest just to like empower themselves?
I haven't had to deal with industry people being ugly to me, like anytime in recent memory. People on Instagram can be real ugly because everybody's a hero behind a keyboard, right?
Yeah, everyone's a tough guy on Twitter and all that other stuff.
Right. So, other than that, no, I haven't had anybody be ugly to me. I do remember I did a cover for L'Officiel India like once a while back. Probably it wasn't bad. It wasn't my best work, but it wasn't that bad. But some woman from, I guess she was a photographer or something from Russia was super ugly, like super ugly about it. And I was like, this is why I hate the fashion and stuff. This is how they are. They're just, the fashion world's something totally different than the fitness world for sure.
Yeah.
Darling.
Yeah.
Da.
I have a good friend that's Russian, and they're all just kind of like that, though. They're all just real steely,
Yeah, and vodka is like water.
Yeah.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah. Well, that's how they are. I found out that they're like that because they've lived under a culture of secrecy for so many decades, like because of the secret police and stuff over there. So there's history behind all that too.
Yeah, and I believe, I don't know if this is true, but I mean, you said you were a little bit of a history buff. I believe in World War I, when Russia and Germany were going at it, there were so many werewolves in Russia that they actually seized fire to kill the werewolves just so they can go back to killing themselves, because when people were getting injured and couldn't fight back, the werewolves would smell their blood and viciously attack them, and the death was like a little more traumatic and hurtful than just getting shot, That might be something you want to look in if you haven't heard about it.
I haven't heard about that. That's pretty crazy.
That is facts. But it's true. I wouldn't say anything I believe it's true. Maybe I was sleeping when I fucking dreamt that, but no, I read it somewhere It's crazy how they cease fire to kill all the wolves so they can go back to killing each other.
I believe it though. There's lots of stories about war throughout human history where just like natural elements, whether it's the landscape or, the weather or whatever, have changed the course of history enormously.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super curious. What are some big things? Because everyone's trying to make it big, right? Those that are interested in being different. What are some things that everyone should really avoid if they're trying to be an entrepreneur? What are some big, or maybe some surprising things that normally you wouldn't think of when you're trying to, come up with a product and sell a product, that it's like, oh, well, you got to do this or you have to do this. And were any surprises?
Well, I remember hearing somebody talk about this once, and it really is true. Like say you like to make cupcakes, or you're a baker or whatever, and that's, you want to be in business because that's what you love to do. And you've always dreamed of having a cupcake store and all this kind of stuff. You have to realize that your love and your passion is a minute fraction of what it takes to make it. There's a lot of stuff that also goes into whatever it is you're trying to do that you're not going to like, and that is very tedious and very laborious, and you're scared all the time, and you feel like you're working enormous amounts of time and hours and stuff for what's really not even a guarantee. And, like if you're the cupcake person, make sure you keep your love of baking and frosting and all the stuff you love to do, but just realize that it takes filling out tax forms. It takes renting a space to be in. It takes knocking out walls and coming up with branding and coming up with, there's a lot of stuff, no matter what industry you're in, that you don't realize are these ancillary things that you've also got to deal with.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even get to that point. They have an idea, and the idea just stays there, and the whole life they just spend dreaming of this idea. They don't even look into what it takes to do it.
Yeah. Well, now that you say that, I had to learn this the hard way, but thank goodness I learned it. Action. You have to take action. Yes, you have to think. Yes, you have to dream, but you also have to take action. It's far more important. And you don't have to be perfect. That's a great one. You don't have to be perfect. That's a procrastination thing. Dreaming all day instead of taking action is a procrastination thing, but also like obsessing about perfectionism. You don't have to be perfect. The world will not end. You won't lose all your money. You just have to, like, action supersedes everything. And you can iron out, details later. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to start doing it.
Exactly. And I believe, just like you said, action is important, and just keeping with the plan is important, because listen, a lot of people, especially with the newer generation, they want to be so successful within 24 hours to a year. It's not even funny. Everything takes time. You can't just go from 0 to 100 like that.
I think that's one of the sadder things, like, is the microwave culture where, everybody I was raised by, and maybe it's because I was raised in like the 80s and 90s when it was a little closer to this generation. I don't know, but we were pretty well informed about the fact that, the life we have, I know you're comfortable and this is great, and you grew up in a good neighborhood and life, it took us a long time to get here. This is not something we got right out of the gate. We lived in this duplex and this 1-bedroom thing, and this, we struggled doing this. And, it's not, I don't know if that needs to be talked about more, because I think in addition to giving people unrealistic expectations, like, it also it discourages people, like, oh, I'm not this successful right out of the gate, I might as well not try, or I'm doing something wrong. Well, no, that's not true. Like, that's one of the hardest things about being an entrepreneur and like striking out on your own is not knowing if you're going to make it. It takes a lot of grind to get stuff off the ground, and a lot of guts and a lot of risk and a lot of, a lot of those things. And, if you're too easily discouraged, you won't make it. It can take a long grind sometimes, and it's worth it. But that's why, some people think like it's not fair that like, business owners make more than people. Yeah, it really is. You have no idea how much risk they incurred and how many hours they worked and what it took to do what they're doing.
Of course.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, I know, because, and then it's like, not only that, but every person you have on your business perspective, you have to have insured. There's like compensations, you got to have like the insurance for the place, and there's just so much money you got to spend. And everyone thinks, oh, well, they're just making money. They're making money. Yeah, they're making money, but they're also contributing a lot of money.
Yeah. Like there's a saying that I think most people are familiar with, like, about like there's memes about it. Like, this is what you see, but this is what you don't see. It's so true though. Like, somebody might look like they've got it going on and they're on easy street and they got a great life. You don't have any idea the number of sleepless nights or the amount of worry or the amount of debt they had to incur, or just, it is a road. I just wish more young people knew that it's worth it and you can do it. Just be prepared for a road. It's not a bad thing. It's just, you just have to be prepared for that.
Yeah. And most of the people that would have a problem with that are either people that are expecting a paycheck on the 1st and the 15th, or from, whatever, from the government, or there's no entrepreneur that looks at another entrepreneur and goes, oh, well, you should be making less money, or,
because they know, they're just like, bro, you're doing what, because they know what it took to, even if they don't know your story, they're just like, man, what did you have to do? Like, what did you have to go through? Like, how scared were you? Like, how did you get this up and going? Who did you meet? Like, just the road to get there is impressive. It takes a lot.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong. So tell me more about the business you're in, or the investments you're making with the CBD field. Like, where did you get that on your mind? Like, how did you want to become a part of that?
So, Brothers in Arms CBD is the name of the company. And to be perfectly fair, I'm an investor. The real rock star, the real star of the show is Mervin. He's our back of the house guy. He's the one that really is the engine behind the whole thing. And I met him. I don't even, to this day, we joke about, we don't even remember really how, but I met him on Instagram. He was working with a veteran who's no longer with the company, but they had this small little CBD operation, and they asked me if I wanted some samples. And so they sent me some samples, and my dad's a Vietnam vet. I was raised by veterans. There's lots of veterans in Texas, but by people who taught me how to fold the flag, were very patriotic, were very, that's how I became such a patriotic person. But I love veterans, and I know enough of them to know how messed up a lot of them are getting on some of these heavy pharmaceutical medications, like coming home with mental and physical wounds that need treating. And they're just getting doped up on stuff that is causing addiction and just all these horrible, horrible things. And I started using CBD a few years ago because, in the fitness world, for inflammation and stuff, but it did so much more than just that. Like, it calmed me down. It was so good for my mental health. I was amazed at just how beneficial it was. Like, there's no drawbacks to taking it at all. You can't overdose. You can't take too much. Like, it's just, there's no drawback at all to taking it. And I was like, maybe this would be something, that's good to invest in, just because, not so much from a money perspective, like let's go out and make some money, but just because I love veterans, and because they deserve better than what they're getting a lot of the time. And I thought this was something that's our aim is, we market to everybody, but we're really big about veterans and first responders, because they are unsung heroes. Thank you for your...
And you got two veterans here, two new friends.
Yeah. Thank you for your service, by the way.
I appreciate that.
Texans really, really love and appreciate you.
Oh, trust me, I know. Like I said, I've lived there, and you never go unnoticed. And they always try hard. Especially with even if, because I enlisted in New York, but if you enlisted in Texas, automatically your kids would go to school for free.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, I think you have to do 6 years minimum for that. Don't quote me, but yeah, I believe Texas, and there's another state.
Texas, Cali, and Illinois.
Thank you, Jack, for that.
Well, it should be that way.
It should be all the states.
No, we should. I'll hold off on the full rant, but we should be elevating. I think that's one of the most noble things that you can do with your life, is be a warrior and fight for something, that's bigger than you, no matter what it is, but especially we should be elevating those people. They are heroes. You guys are heroes. People should be buying you drinks everywhere you go. That's the way it was when I was growing up, and it should be that way still.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know. And I think that they should be getting paid way more than they deserve, because, like I said, I've been in 8 years. I'm out. Jack did 6 years active. I did 4 years active. Then I did 4 years reserve. But the amount of pressure, the stress, the training, this shit, that shit, missing your family. I mean, I missed all Thanksgiving, all my birthdays. I only got to spend, I think, 2 Christmas, and it was only like a quick one. You know, you go back home to New York, spend Christmas. Next thing you know, you're on a flight back. And all that for $800 bi-weekly. You kidding me?
Wow, I didn't know it was that little. Yeah,
Well, it all depends on your rank and grade and all that. But like I say, starting off, an average soldier walking in, I think, is probably making less than $30,000 base pay.
When I was growing up, you know, that was one of the things. See, that's another thing. You know, I come from, you know, a community where nobody really judged your choices about what to do after high school quite the way they do now. Like, if you want to go to college, great. You know, good luck to you. Can't wait to see you be a lawyer or something. That's great. But, you know, I come from a place where it was okay to go to trade school. It was okay to go to the military. It was okay to do something different with yourself after high school. And it was just as respected and it was just as noble. And I really wish that we could get back to that point too, because the world doesn't need any more lawyers. The world needs electricians and plumbers and veterans and are brave and willing to work with their hands.
And it's great that you have this product out. And there's a great discount for veterans and first responders that I could see on the website, which is awesome. Much appreciated. Do you obviously take the product. Do you have it worked into like a daily regimen? Have you seen any kind of significant differences in how you feel with your taking some of the, like, what do you take? The tincture?
So I take the tincture. I'll use like salves as necessary if I'm really having a lot of like inflammation or muscle workouts, which I'm starting to have again because I'm really starting to hit it again with this coach since I got a little puffy over the last couple of months. But
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Right. It's always a little more justified around the holidays, but I take the tincture religiously. So a super dose is considered to be 1,000 milligrams or more. And everybody has their own reasons for using it. I primarily use it for anxiety relief. It has changed my mental health dramatically. Like, in addition to being strong-willed, I've always been kind of high-strung, which is good if you want to be in the business world and want to be high octane and all that kind of stuff. It's also really exhausting. And it's also sometimes you drive yourself nuts. And I was getting kind of a couple of years ago in a trap where I was just kind of not able to deregulate, like after I got real worked up and I was just having issues. So but I started taking CBD for muscle soreness, and it just had a profound effect on my level of anxiety. And you're not high at all. It's not, it's not a high. It's very subtle, but it's dramatic. You just feel so much more even. Like, we call it, you're in symphony. It puts your body into symphony. It puts your mind into symphony. Your thoughts flow together so much more smoothly and cleanly. Your mood is much more stable and calm. It just it's a general sense of well-being that, again, it's not dramatic, but it's very noticeable.
It's something almost like where a truck should go once a week spraying this in the air.
It should. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it should. I think it would do everybody a lot of good.
Now, out of all your interests, I mean, between the business side, the professional modeling, the career, what takes more of your time out? I mean, I'm going to assume I would say the business side, because it just seems like there's so much more. I mean, modeling might be like just a gateway for you to get your mind off the business.
So, I turned 38 in November. So I'm not going to quit. Thank you. I'm not going to quit the modeling stuff anytime soon, but I've sort of slowed down on it just a little bit because I realized, well, number one, I'm getting a little older, which is not, these days, like it used to be, you can only be this old before you have to retire. You can only be 23 before you have to.
Yeah, but doesn't looks come into it, because you don't look your age at all?
No. Oh yeah, well, sure, looks come into it, sure, but I've also achieved a lot of the goals that I always wanted to achieve with that. Like, I've been published so many times, and so I'm not going to stop. I love to make art. My next photo shoot is going to be at the end of January in Colorado in the snow. I've got a guy named Todd Waters who does all the road costumes for Motley Crue, and he does stuff for movies and stuff. He lives out near Austin, but he's from LA, and he does this for a living. He's designing a barbarian costume, an ice princess costume, and a fairy costume for the shootout in the snow. So I'm sort of starting to transition to like wanting to explore like more high art and like fantasy type stuff, which takes a lot of moving parts to accomplish. But that's
really cool, by the way. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'm excited. I haven't done something like this in a long time, and I'm excited to do it.
I'm sorry. Could you say that again? He's making it's costume making.
So he makes I forget the movies he's worked on. He's worked on a bunch of movies. He does Motley Crue stuff. He does. If you guys listen to metal, do you know who Dimmu Borgir is? The black metal band from Norway.
You don't know, say maybe him.
No, I might know their music. I'm really good with knowing people's music, not their faces or names.
Well, they're one of these black metal bands that are just, you know, like the makeup and the costumes and all that kind of stuff. Like he does all their costumes. Like this guy is so cool. And I just met him like online, like randomly on a Revolver page, because I said something about Rage Against the Machine being dumb for recording their shows.
Too
and
political.
I guess we bought that, but like, so he's making me costumes now, but he's making me, we're going to go up to Colorado and shoot in the forest, like in snow and stuff like that. So I wanted to do some looks that are going to be conducive with that, because I'm flying my whole team up. My photographer friend Casey and my hair and makeup girls are going to come too, and everybody's going to be like, I've already told everybody, like, you know, just let's amp this up. Like everybody needs to, you know, let's make this super cool fantasy makeup, photography. Everybody do their part well, and this is going to come out so cool. So that's going to be
dope.
I believe it, because especially with the snow, your blue eyes are going to shine. Like that's going to like complement the photo shoot, I believe.
I'm excited. Well, that's what I told Tom when we started collaborating about, like, when I hired him to make some costumes for me. I said, I'm thinking, you know, I want to do a couple different looks that are going to look good with like snowy, dark forest. I'm like, you understand this from doing black metal costumes, right? And he's like, yeah, I sure do.
Yeah. Now, is Cleo your cat?
Cleo's my cat. Yeah.
Is Cleo going to be doing some photo shoots? Because I seen on one of your Instagram posts, he tried to take away on that photo shoot you did on the stairs. He was like getting in on the action.
Cats are just natural photo bombers. Like you can't do them getting all up in your face and like crashing your photos. So she wants.
They want attention. They love it.
Yeah, they're so cute. That was for an FHM shoot, actually, with my friend Jason Ellis. That was for the FHM USA cover that I did. And we were on the stairs, and the cats were just like, hey, let's sniff everything all over the stairs. And it took you 20 minutes to set up, which this will be fun.
Yeah. Now, out of all the photo shoots you did, to get back on that, what's one of your favorites? I mean, I know it's not like choosing kids, I would hope, but I would assume you have at least one favorite you like. Because my favorite is the one for the For Him magazine. You had the pink bikini, I believe it's called, with the white polka dots.
Pink bikini with the white polka dots. I'm trying to remember.
I can share my screen real quick. I'll show you what I mean.
You see.
The host has disabled that. Okay. Yeah, it was For Him. I can't share it. I don't know if Jack, you could share it.
Yep.
I remember what you're talking about. Yes, that was with my friend Jason Ellis. I think I know the one you're talking about. Yes, that was with Jason. We were in Dallas, and we were in Dallas, and he actually, that was my very first cover, thanks to Jason Ellis.
Really?
Yes. He is another. He's a friend of mine. That's all he does. He's the king of covers, is what he calls himself, for a reason. He's done over 500 magazine covers, mostly fitness, but he got me into FHM because I was a little curvier during that shoot.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
You can stop
all.
sharing too. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I've embraced. You're going to go back and forth no matter what. You kind of just got to embrace the way you look, no matter what it is. It takes age with women, but yeah, we shot that in Dallas. It was my very first one ever. It was April of 2020, like right after the whole world got locked down for COVID.
There you go. April 2020, 420, the International Pot World Day.
I never thought of that, but that's exactly right.
All right, so we're going to get into Jack's final questions. Jack, are you ready? Elizabeth, are you ready?
I am.
I'm ready.
All right. Elizabeth, your first question. If you could live in a movie for 1 week, what movie would it be?
Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast. Nice. Good answer.
I love that movie. That was great. I actually seen that on Broadway.
Really? We did too. The one where they spin the beast around and change his face in mid.
But still, my favorite to this day is Aladdin. I am a sucker for Aladdin.
The movie? Did they ever put that on?
I love the movie, but the Broadway show was amazing.
I didn't know they put that on Broadway. I bet that was cool.
Yeah. Wicked takes the cake. On top of everything that you guys have just mentioned, Wicked wins. No arguments. Sorry?
I never got to see it. I saw the Book of Mormon up in New York, though. That was hilarious.
All right. So question number 2. What is your worst habit?
Ooh. Biting my nails, even though fake nails. I every time I go in to get my nails fixed, they look at me and just like, why do you come in with your nail like with at least one of them broken like every single time? And it's because that's why I need CBD because I just.
Well, they must like it because there's more money for them. See, business.
Yeah.
Your worst habit is their business.
That's right.
All right. So question number 3, what is your guilty pleasure?
Ooh, food. Yeah, I have peaks and valleys in the fitness realm for a reason. I love to eat. I joke that I'm a fat kid that's got it under control because I get really excited about cake and like pizza and like every time it's cheat meal, it's disgusting. It's really obscene.
That's great. So, all right. Question number 4. If you could have dinner with one person, living or dead, who would it be?
Jesus. Is that corny to say?
No, not at all. Not at all.
He's got, because you know what? Whether you believe in all that stuff or not, major historical figure definitely existed. And I'd really like to know what he was actually like.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to ask anyone questions, I mean, the most
Jesus
important person. Yeah, that's the guy.
Too. Like I've always loved Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin, if you know the history behind that man, he was a character and his autobiography is hilarious. He was a smart, interesting person.
Now I'm interested in Ben Franklin. Thank you. So on to the next one. Question number 5. What fast food restaurant and what are you getting?
As a Texan, I'm obligated to say Whataburger, and I'm also obligated to say honey butter chicken biscuit.
Ooh, I never heard of honey butter chicken biscuit. I heard of Whataburger. I was there.
They're good.
Yeah.
I guess that's like every New Yorker that's got to say pizza.
Right. Or like in California, you got to say In-N-Out or whatever. I mean, that burger thing out there.
Fine. Fair enough.
California should be an In-N-Out place. You just go in and get the fuck out.
All right, on to the next one. What is the biggest regret that you can change?
Ooh. That's a hard one. You know what? I suppose the way I treated people when I was younger. And, you know, there were a lot of people that I went to high school with that were not very nice to me in high school. But they have since found, a lot of them, surprising number actually, have since found me on social media as an adult and have profusely apologized for the way they behaved when they were younger, which I think is really nice. Because you know what? I did a lot of stuff when I was younger that I'm not proud of either. I think we all do. I think your hormones make you a different person, and that, but I think I think we all regret stuff when we're younger, and, but you can change that when you're older. You don't have to be the same person.
Yeah, I agree.
What is the biggest regret that you cannot change?
Ooh. You know what? I missed a lot of stuff in high school because I had an attitude problem. And like I never went to prom. I never went to homecoming. I never did a lot of those milestone things. And I think I should have. I don't really know what my problem was, but I wish I could go back and change that.
Yeah, I never been to prom either. I left high school.
I went to 3 of them, so I went to one for each of you.
Okay, well, there you go.
How was it, Jack? Tell us. Elizabeth and
was
I.
it?
Did we miss much?
I'll send you pictures so that it'll be like you guys were
You probably
there
had
with
gel
us.
hair spiked up. You
I did.
fucked.
I did. That was me.
You have frosted tips. It was like the 90s, right?
No, well, this was just after that. So the spikes were still there, but frosting them was already banned from man code.
Yeah, everyone stopped listening to NSYNC at that time.
Yeah. All right, and on to the last question. Your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, rude cell phone usage. I can't. I think everybody understands, if you're in the middle of something and something, it's your kid, it's an emergency, whatever. If you're in the elevator, like going on and on and on, like a loud freaking jerk off on your phone about nothing important, just have some consideration for other people. That's one of the reasons I don't do well in big cities sometimes is it's just amazing, like how in their little worlds people are. Like have some consideration for the people around you,
Yeah, I'm big with the dinner table too. I don't like cell phones on the dinner table unless it's like a Super Bowl thing, but usually I try to book a vacation and get out of the world for that day. Super Bowl's big in my life.
Yeah, I think that's probably just in general, my biggest one is cell phone etiquette. I'm guilty too. I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but the phones are ruling our lives, like all of us. And we've got to, there's a time and a place.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right. So thank you very much, Elizabeth. You have my utmost respect. And I wish you the best of luck with the fantasy photos. I hope to see them soon. And the costume making, I'm very excited to see how that all turns out.
But you have anything else you want to share? Like if someone needed to reach you, send you a message, any of our listeners or anything. I know you have an Instagram handle.
Yeah. Instagram is at liz.mrshall. And I can be reached at lizmarshallfit@gmail.com if you've got business inquiries or anything like that. So just hit me up there. I'm probably most active on Instagram. I've got a Facebook too, but Instagram's kind of where I live.
Yeah, we're more active. I mean, I'm an Instagram guy over Facebook. I'm not really there.
If I have to pick one Zuckerberg platform, I'll go with it.
Yeah, I'll go with it. It's kind of better. It's just pictures, really. You don't really have a lot of people's what's on your mind, and people post shit every 5 seconds. No one. I mean, me personally, I don't care what's on their mind unless it's like one of those normal posts. But Elizabeth, thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story. Your definition of a real woman, and I know that people are listening, especially to this show, and especially the younger generation of women will be inspired. I wish you all the best. Hope we talk soon in the future. Maybe we'll get an update. And thanks again, and we'll walk you out, and we'll be right back.
Great, nice to meet you.
Thank you for listening to the UnFollowVic podcast. To show your love and support, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at the UnFollowVic podcast. Cheers.
And so we're back. I mean, what an amazing interview. I mean, she's such a humble person, and I think she doesn't take life for granted. And just like any other person in this world, she works hard to get to where she's at, and it shows.
Yeah, man. She's an amazing person, really an inspiration. Should be an inspiration for a lot of girls out there who don't think that they can make it because other people say they can't. It's, proven false, fact check false.
Exactly.
So
don't fact check us, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she's got this shoot coming out in January. She said that's going to be in the snowy of Colorado.
Yeah, I'm excited. The cosplay shoot. Definitely we'll keep everyone informed on when that drops. And I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to tag her in all the posts. So if you want to follow her, just go ahead and hit that tagged, and you can see all her work.
All right. Good to go.
Natural and beauty. All right, Jack. So that's going to be it. We're locking it up. This was such a great day for the UnFollowVic podcast. Professional model, creator, investor.
Yeah, man.
She does it all. Any last words, Jack?
No, I just want to thank everybody for staying tuned and catching our episodes. We know you're there. We see you. We love you. Thank you. Share the word.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Hope this was a treat. Hope you learned something. Hope it was something to get you through your commute. At UnFollowVic Podcast. You can hit us up on Instagram. Let us know any questions, anything you want us to cover. You let us know. We'll cover it for sure. Another episode on UnFollowVic. We'll see you soon. Peace.